I was on a slump, but now I got back up. That happened, and one of the things that's been helping me cope up is listening to podcasts. So why not share them out there into the world? First podcast that I like to talk about is Not Overthinking. It is hosted by Ali and Tamer Abdal. Yeah, right. Not brothers. Yeah, no, they're brothers. Ali is a doctor YouTuber, and then Tamer is a data scientist and a startup entrepreneur, if I remember correctly. Every week, Ali and Tamer chat and volley opinions on topics ranging from the human condition, productivity, to social interactions. Every now and then they would throw book reviews and guest interviews that would spice up their their content. It all boils down to them overthinking about things that people would normally sweep under the rug. Questions that somehow enter the brain of many people but choose not to delve on them. Essentially, why I think it's named Not Overthinking is to kind of jab on how they effortlessly overthink. One of the more impactful episodes for me is entitled How Do We Make Friends? And in this episode, Ali and Tamer kind of timelined how they were able to make relationships or friends throughout their lives. And what I am always going to remember from that podcast is the terms high optionality and low optionality when it comes to making friendships. I'm gonna try to explain it in the way I understood how they said it, so here goes. The friends that you made from low optionality situations are those from your grade school or high school. It was when, you were subjected to 30 or 40 people for 10 whole months. You didn't have any other option. You had no choice but to talk to them. And eventually, some of them you might get close with. You might not have, put as much effort into, making that relationship work because you know that you're going to see them tomorrow and talk about this project in school or whatever interest or group activity that you have with each other. And sometimes these friendships may survive even past the time that you were classmates. And that is how we have your low optionality friendships. Now with high optionality, it is these friendships that you form when you meet someone spontaneously, like in a party or in college maybe. It is these types of friendships wherein you really have the option which friends you want to keep, who you want to be in contact with, because you're not subjected to them every single day. Basically, high optionality friendships are harder to maintain because you have more freedom, and you know how freedom can also limit your freedom. It's kind of paradoxical. So it is these types of friendships that you form mostly because of your own choices. After listening to the podcast, it made me contemplate about how I dealt with my own friendships and relationships throughout my life. Okay, so what I was saying was that most of my friends came from low optionality friendship situations, and I don't know, I was left thinking, what if I took more effort in making friends that were not in my class? Would I have been influenced differently? Would I still be the same person as I am? Lastly, about the podcast, I really like the dynamic of Ali and Tamer because they debate so heatedly, but at the same time, it doesn't come off as disrespectful. I think that is something that people need more that quality, especially in a world, in a society right now that is divided, that is polarized by so many things. The second one is the Anthropocene Reviewed, hosted by John Green. Anthropocene is defined as the geological era wherein humans are considered as a force of nature. We are compared alongside earth, water, fire, air, or whatever element you can think of. This is because our actions have become so impactful that it can change the fabric of nature as we know it. And we can see that by the climate changing, by many other effects. And I really can't think of anything other than climate change. Oh, extinction of animals. My professor actually said that some people don't believe in the Anthropocene. I personally think that the Anthropocene has been going on for a long time now, and I think the agency of humans just became so drastic that we can actually see it becoming destructive. Anyway, on the Anthropocene Reviewed, John Green reviews different facets of the human-centered planet on a 5-star scale. So it's like this pencil case. He will research who came up with the first pencil case, their sizes, their shapes, how it evolved, how, things are becoming more digital. Do we even need a pencil case? And he rates the item on a 5-star scale. The beauty of the show is that it recognizes the capacity of a human. I listen to it whenever I feel hollow, whenever I feel numb. I know that's so emotional, but it's true. I think it's just easier for me to find meaning once I hear other people giving meaning to things that I didn't even second think. What? Didn't even have second thoughts about. Like, I just dismissed. Like, I have an aircon, but I don't really think about it in a way that John explains it. The next podcast is Everything is Alive, hosted by Ian Chalag. Yeah, like chillax but with a G in the end. The show humanizes mundane objects. I remember Soap and Elevator to be my most favorite guests in the show, because I didn't know I was going to relate to a Soap who expressed that she was having a sliver life crisis. Oh my god, I feel like I have a bad humor for laughing about that. But I think I loved Elevator more. Ian, the host, was asking Anna the Elevator, has she ever been stuck? Quote unquote, she said, "We are not going anywhere. There's no use in feeling too stressed about this. But I've been stuck many times, and I've never stayed that way, so you won't either." Another statement that came out from Anna that was really something to think about. Ian was showing her pictures of the outside world, specifically Times Square, and you know how Times Square can get very crowded. Upon seeing that, Anna asked, "Is there no weight limit outside? How do you know if there's too many people outside?" And I know that can be answered by statistics and the economy and our depleting resources. But honestly, when do you often hear that, hear it questioned like that? Is there no weight limit outside? Oh yeah, I think it is such a good practice to hear potential voices of inanimate objects, because you get to question humanly things in a new way, and maybe you realize that some of the things that we consider normal in retrospect does seem bizarre. The fourth podcast that I've been listening to is 1619. This is from the New York Times, hosted by Nicole Hannah Jones. For every episode, there is a special guest that would explain a specific aspect of the African American struggle. You may or may not know this, but it was during August of 1619 when the first African slaves were transported to the English colony that years later will be known as the United States of America. The podcast is a commemoration of the 400th year of that event and tackles the things that happened since. From this, I learned a great deal of things about racism, how it can happen in so many forms, not just by calling someone the N-word. It can happen not only by lynching. I learned about the PTSD, the feelings, the psyche of a Black person. Okay, I'm sorry, I was not able to include this in the video, but I do think that for us to be able to understand the way things are right now, we have to know these didn't come out of the blue. Everything we experience comes from a continuum. Everything happens for a reason, and certain systems, certain governments, certain people have enabled these issues to perpetuate. While slavery has been abolished, while so many practices, unjust practices of the past have been abolished, people just really find a way, especially people in power, just find a way to make permutations of that very cancer. And there's so many hints and clues that will make you realize that some people, or specifically Black people, never really became free, at least not all of them. And this goes to other issues that we are experiencing in our own country, the Philippines. So, yeah. I am certainly going to judge you if you do not listen to any of these, because I poured my heart and soul into explaining everything, and then you're just gonna... I'm just joshing with you all. We have different ways of learning, and you may be a watcher, you may be a bookist, but I certainly implore you to just, find ways on how you can